So who can tell me what it means to compare? We talked about this yesterday. If we want to compare something, what does that mean that we want to do? Because in this case, we have three stories we're going to compare. What are we going to do with those three stories when we compare? We're going to find the things that they have in common, right? So then if we're going to contrast, if we find the things that are in common, contrast would be the opposite. So what would contrast mean? We're going to compare, we find the similarities. If we contrast, we find the differences, right? Thank you, Carmine. So we're going to start applying that to our three stories. And we have this chart here that we're going to practice with a little bit in a couple of stories in our lesson today. And one of them is the pancake thief, which is one of the ones that you wrote. Yes, I see somebody grabbing their notebook. That's a good idea. Remember, having your notebook here every single day when we start the lesson is a great way to take notes during the lesson. That way you can go back and look and go, oh, hey, I'm going to write that down so that when I start to work on this and I say, what did Mrs. Adamo say? I have it right there in my notes. Angel, stay on topic, please. So here, and you are able to print this out if you want to. Again, so you can compare, this is only comparing and contrasting two stories. So here in the middle is what they have in common. And then on the outside is the differences. So the differences are going to only be to one story, because if it's different than this one, they're not going to have that in common. It's not going to be the same. Sorry, a couple more people jumped in. I just want to make sure I get them marked for attendance. Okay. So we're going to be comparing and contrasting the pancake thief and then another one, the best of both worlds. We're also going to be looking at the point of view. What's the point of view mean? We talked about this yesterday as well. We had first, second, and third. So point of view would be what? Mariah, what do you remember? Point of view, so if we talked about the different nouns and pronouns, so if we said I, me, we, ours, it's first point of view, first person. What's another point of view? If you're not remembering, you're going to need to go back and watch our lesson from yesterday again, because we did this 24 hours ago. So we have first person, we have second person, and we have third person. Remember this chart? So first person, if we see I, me, we, three of us, our, mine, ours, that means that the text or the story is written and one of the characters is in the story. So they're telling you their exact experiences. And if it's a second person point of view, that means that the author is talking to you, the reader, and you'll see you, your, and yours. So you're not in the story, but the author is talking to you. And then the third person point of view, we see things like he, him, she, her, or we see the names of the characters. And that means that it's being told by somebody outside of the story. So the person's not part of the story, the author's not talking to you, it's somebody completely outside of the story. So we're going to take a look at little clips from The Pancake Thief and The Best of Both Worlds, and then we're going to answer some questions to compare and contrast the two. So from the pancake thief, it says, just then, Kim's grandma came in from the garden. After he'd said hello to Kim and was introduced to me, Kim's grandma said, I'm just telling Hannah about our thief, the pancake thief. At this, Kim's grandpa looked away and just said, okay, well, I'm going back outside. It seemed a bit strange to me. He was excited to see Kim, but at the mention of the thief, his manner changed and he left the kitchen. And then another telling of the same story is called The Best of Both Worlds. So this one says, the back door opened and in came Kim's grandpa from the garden. He loved being outside with his beautiful garden and spent a lot of time there tending to his plants and trees. Kim's grandpa was very pleased to see Kim and very polite to Hannah, but when Olivia mentioned the pancake thief, all of a sudden it looked like Grandpa was a bit under the weather. He suddenly turned around and went outside, making excuses as he went. So, what is a similarity? So something they have in common, something to compare. What is the similarity in the way the authors use point of view in each story? So, point of view means, is it told in first person, second person, or third person? So did both authors explain that Grandpa didn't want Hannah to be over at the house? Did both authors explain that Grandpa wasn't feeling well? Did both authors explain that Grandpa left when the pancake thief was mentioned? Or did both authors explain that Grandpa was a great gardener? So what did they have in common about point of view? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Well, they talked about gardening, but it wasn't in both of them. If we take a look, this first one doesn't talk about Grandpa gardening. It says he's in his garden. Both authors explain that Grandpa wasn't feeling well. They talked about how he left right as soon as the pancake thief was mentioned. So, thinking about different points of view today. All right, so now we're going to read two other, or it's the same little clip from before. This question's going to ask, select the points of view of contrast used by the author's point of view in each story. So contrasting means we're going to find the difference. So that means that they're each told in a different point of view. In this first one, oops, didn't want that. Want my text selector. Okay, in this first one, what words do you see that might help us with point of view? I see a name. I see referring to a person. Here's another name. So what point of view do you think this one might be? First, second, or third? Does it sound like the person is in the story? Because then we see a me here. You think it's in third person, Troa? Okay, because you see a lot of names. We see this me here, though. What do you think that means? Ricky?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Introduce the author something like the one that's telling the story.
Okay, so you think the author is in the story? Yeah, so we do see all these names, but when we say, after he said hello to Kim and was introduced to me, we know that this person is in the story. So down here, what point of view do we see? So we see a lot of the names again. Do we see any I, me, we? Do you see any of that down here? No, we don't see that. So we see a lot of the names. Do we see any you, your, Yeah, Mariah, I think you're right on this one, that this one would be third point of view. So first and third. So let's keep those in mind. So let's see what they do not have in common. So Grandma drinks her cocoa with marshmallows. We learn about Grandpa's interest in gardening. Grandpa leaves the kitchen. Grandpa reacted to his described. Grandpa's reaction is described differently. His manner changed. He looked under the weather. We learn what Hannah is thinking in the first story. Grandma mentioned the pancake thief. So thinking of point of view. So thinking about his manner and how, nope, not that one. Do we learn, because remember in the first one, it's first point of view. Nope, not that one. So when they talk about Grandpa leaving the kitchen, how did he leave the kitchen? So he was excited to see Kim at the mention of the thief. His manner changed and he left the kitchen. Down here, it says it looked like Grandpa was a bit under the weather. He suddenly turned around and went outside, making excuses as he went. So they tell it in a little bit different way. So now we have two new sections, still from the same two stories. So in the pancake thief, it says, so Kim's grandma explained that every time she made pancakes, she'd place them on a plate as they were ready. If Kim or any other of her cousins were there, they'd eat them while they were hot. But if not, then Olivia would keep them until one of her grandchildren did come around. But no matter how many I make, some of them go missing. It's a pancake thief. It's that pancake thief. When she said this, I noticed there was a glimmer in her eye. All right, let's hear that scene part told from the best of both worlds. Hannah was sure that she caught Kim's grandmother wink at her as she began to explain the mystery of the pancake thief. The story went that whenever she made pancakes, a few of them would go missing. Most of the time, Kim or her cousins were there to share the pancakes, but the pancakes always disappeared. But no matter how many pancakes I make, some of them go missing. It's that pancake thief, Kim's grandma exclaimed with a glint in her eye. So now we want to look at the options that identify details that show the difference in the point of view on these two versions. So, how Grandma's eyes are described as she tells the story, how Hannah asks Grandma about the pancake thief, Kim's reaction to the story. Olivia talks about how the pancake thief steals some of the pancakes all of the time. Kim and her cousins would eat the pancakes. So the difference. So in the first one, they talked about cousins, but I didn't hear them talk about cousins in the second one, but that's not what they're talking about. They both talk about Grandma had a glint in her eye, but that one's not it. So here is the difference. Olivia talks about how the pancake thief steals some pancakes all of the time. So as we start looking at your assignment for today, so remember, you'll be on Tuesday, January 12th. Down here is your body paragraph 1 for your assignment. And then this will be your assignment. So remember back on Friday when we did the introduction. It gives you all your writing prompts here. So it says the directions, retype everything in red. So all these words you see in red are going to be part of your paragraph, your body paragraph 1. And then you fill in the blanks with what they have in common and evidence from the text. So we're comparing. Comparing means what they have in common. And then it gives you your transitional words. So our topic sentence is, Hannah is a character who is. So down here in your box, you'll type, Hannah is a character who is. So we think about Hannah. She likes being a detective. She likes looking at clues. So a good topic sentence, this is an example. This is not exactly what you have to write, but we could put, Hannah is a character who is very interested in detective work and likes to solve all kinds of mysteries. So there's my topic sentence. I followed this prompt right here, and I put in her character trait 1. If you forget, so when you go back to your writing assignment here, this is from Friday. Remember your controlling idea down here. The 3 mysteries that Hannah solved show how she is. You put your first character trait and your second character trait. So there's where you put your first one. So if your first one said she likes to solve mysteries, that's what this paragraph is going to be about. So they're linked together. So then my next sentence, because remember this is all one body paragraph 1. So we're going to write it in the form of a paragraph. We're not just going to list sentences. So I would use my first transition word, and it's followed by a comma. So I would type first, comma, in, and then they put the title of the paper in quotation marks because we're referring directly to that title. So the first one is The Mystery of the Shiny Paper. So I would say first in and remember the title is capitalized because it's a proper noun, it's referring to the, so I have quotation mark, comma, Hannah, and then I fill that part in. So I'm talking about her character trait. In The Mystery of the Shiny Paper, Hannah, what is something she does from the first story? And for those of you that joined us late, the links on this lesson today for the stories for some reason aren't working. I'll fix it after class today, but you can always go back here to find the links to the stories. So I'll fix it in our lesson today. So if you don't remember the paper, you can pull it up so that you can go back, oops, not that one, and continue writing. And once you finish that sentence, then you'll do also in Be the Best Detective You Can Be, she, and then you fill in. So it says evidence from the text, so evidence from the story. Remember, if you copy exactly what the story says, you need to put it in quotation marks because you're giving credit to the author that wrote it. If you copy it and then write it as though it's your words, that is plagiarism and can get you in trouble the older you get. So that's why we're practicing now to put it in our own words, or if we use exactly what's from the story, that we give credit to that author. So your transition words are right here. First, also, finally. So you'll begin writing this paragraph and then you end it with your closing sentence. This shows that Hannah, and you refer back to that first character trait. So this shows that Hannah is very interested in detective work and likes to solve all kinds of mysteries. So it ties it back. It concludes that sentence and it goes back to that first topic sentence on this paragraph. All right. What questions do you have? So then after you write your paragraph, you want to go back here and check the rubric. Did I write a topic sentence? Well, if you filled this in, yes, you did. Did I use transition words and phrases? Well, they're right here. All you have to do is add them in. Did I find evidence from all three texts, all three stories? Well, if you did 1, 2, 3, yes, you did. Did I do a concluding sentence? Yep, it's right here. Did I use correct spelling, punctuation, and grammar? This is something that some of you are not going back and checking, so you're just typing it out and going, okay, phew, I'm done. Okay, you still need to go back and make sure. Check for spelling errors, check for punctuation, check for grammar. Some of you are just writing one big long run-on sentence. That's not a paragraph, that's a run-on sentence. So make sure you're checking this rubric to make sure you have all those points. Okay, questions?